in this whole game of the bass music.
Now let
You
me
had
stop
a
you. I want to tell you one other story.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, that's when I said yes. Let me tell you about a time when I said no. All right. You were talking about it earlier. Derek Ramin came into my office one time,
Okay.
and he had a record called "Give It All You Got," and I love this record. I thought it was great, and we dickered about money. And I'm not going to tell you how much it was, but we were just a little bit apart. And knowing now, if I knew now what I knew then, I would have given him the money and it would have been my record. But as it was, we were just that far apart. I turned him down. He went to see Ed Merriweather, and the rest is history. I missed out on that. That's when I said no to.
Mm. Well,
Those in those days, it was kind of every man for himself. We all did the best we could. The guys that were the artists made the best records they could. Me and my fellow label owners, we did the best we could. Doing pressing, putting them out, and promoting them. And nobody was perfect.
when you had this record label, Pandisc, there was other record labels that basically were putting out bass music. You know anything about bass stations? The reason why those executives are no longer on this planet?
Well, I knew Norberto. He was a friend of mine, and I knew Eric, and
They were putting really good records out.
right, and I originally distributed their label for them. We put out the Worsom record. I think we put out Give the DJ a Break. We put out a number of records as their distributor. If you look at the old labels, you'll see it on there. And eventually they decided that they wanted to do it on their own, which they did. And it's unfortunate that from what I hear, that wasn't their only business. I think if they had just stuck in the record business, they would have been a very big success.
This is the interesting thing about this picture is because of people don't know the backbone of Miami and how Miami was really being a lot of innovative and independent things were being pushed in Miami in those eras, in that era, such as the 80s, because of additional money that was coming from the streets, and you as an individual that I noticed as a young jit, like they say, I always looked and heard what was going on. That was my question because I knew there was other labels being funded differently than your label.
Well, I was in the thick of things during that whole era, as were the other label owners, the Joey Boys, the Lukes. All of us were competing for the hottest artists and producers and whatnot, and there were other people around that were doing other things that might not be legal but wanted to get into the record business. And sometimes the easiest way for them to get into the business would be to affiliate with someone who was already in it. And that's really what happened. I mean, I always kept everything separate. I only talked records. That's all I did, records and music.
Very good. And also, in regards to one other question before we kind of wrap this up is the Cut It Up Death thing with Bob Smith. How did that work out? What made you kind of want to do that deal? Did they approach you or you approach them?
I can't remember. I honestly don't remember. Somehow we got put together, but I don't remember exactly how. But I met Bob, and I had heard. I think it was the Splat Pack record.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was.
Well, we had Party Time Out, DJ Wars.
Yeah, but it was one of them. Maybe it was Party Time. Anyway, piqued my interest, and we got put together, and we fashioned a deal, and but as far as being, if I was, to be very honest with you, if I was a disorganized label, because we were all in a learning, Bob Smith was a train wreck. Business wise. So what happened was, as creative and as great as all those records were, there wasn't any backlog of organization or paperwork or infrastructure to back up all the great stuff that was coming out creatively with that.
But then they all came out on one album, which
Yeah,
you put out.
yeah, absolutely.
the Miami.
But there
Beach.
was no follow up, for there were
Not until
hey,
25 years later.
yeah, Jock should have had an album. Some of the other ones should have had an album.
Now, out of all your catalog, what was the most selling record you had?
Well, probably the biggest record that we had was the Young and Restless, which was a very big record, and it was a big record. We put out Poison Ivy, which was the original single, and we sold a ton of them. And then for the album, we released another single called B Girls, which was huge as well. But when the second single dropped, Sam Ferguson, who was the manager of the group and the executive producer, cut a video. We gave him the money, and we made a video of B Girls, and it was shot in Opelika, at the flea market, and various places in Carroll City, and it had a real local South Florida flavor. That's really an iconic video when you look back on it. Really,
So was Gigolo Tony stuff.
yeah. So when Sam finished the video for B Girls, they were running a show on MTV from 4 to 5 in the afternoon, playing nothing but rap videos.
Yeah, Yo MTV Raps.
Exactly. And they were just starting, and they really weren't playing anything from South Florida. So I got the address of the person who picked the videos or whatever. We put our videos in an overnight pouch and sent it up to them, and they reviewed it and they aired it right away. Okay? And they played it almost every day for a month or whatever during that 4 to 5 hour in the afternoon, and we sold a ton of albums, and we had CDs at this point, and it was going fabulous. And so I thought, hey, this is easy. This is real easy. Well, it was 10 years before I got another video on.